I didn't believe in omens before last October. That's important. Because if I had, maybe I would have recognized what it was sooner. The campus was loud that night, not party loud, just alive. Laughter spilling out of open dorm windows, the hum of late-night study sessions, music pulsing faintly from the frat houses across Maple Avenue. You could stand in the quad and feel ambition vibrating in the air. We were a school on the rise, new science wing, record enrollment, football team undefeated, the kind of place brochures brag about. I was cutting across the biology lawn when I felt it, not saw it. Felt it. You know that instinct that makes your shoulders tense before your brain catches up? Like when someone stands too close behind you in line? That? I slowed down near the oak trees by Whitmore Hall. The wind wasn't strong enough to move the branches, but something up there shifted. At first, I thought it was a campus banner flapping loose. Then I saw the eyes. They weren't bright like headlights. They glowed, a deep, saturated red, not blinking, not flickering, just steady, watching. And they were high, at least 20 feet up. My brain tried to correct the image, owl, drone, reflection. But the shape behind them, it unfolded wings. Not flapping, just stretching slightly, like something adjusting its weight. The span had to be 8, maybe 10 feet across, and it was upright. That's what froze me. It wasn't hanging like a bat. It wasn't perched like a bird. It stood, balanced on the thick branch, shoulders hunched, head tilted slightly to the side like it was studying me the way I'd study something in a lab. I don't know how long we stared at each other. 5 seconds. 15. Long enough for my heartbeat to move from my chest into my throat. Then someone shouted behind me, just a drunk sophomore yelling to his friends, and when I looked back up, it was gone. No wing beat, no scramble, just empty branches. I told myself I imagined it. Stress? Lack of sleep? I was juggling my thesis proposal and 2 jobs. Visual misfires happen. The brain fills in darkness with shapes. I didn't tell anyone. Not that night, but the next morning, there was a post in the campus forum. Anyone else see something weird near Whitmore last night? It had 17 replies. One said, red lights in the trees. Another, thought it was a prank drone. Another, bro, it looked like a huge bat. That was the first time I felt the cold slide down my spine, because if I'd imagined it, how were they describing the same eyes? By the end of the week, there were 5 more sightings. Always at night, always near heavily populated areas. Always watching, never approaching. And then Tyler Green decided to follow it. Tyler was the kind of guy who live-streamed everything. Urban explorer energy. If there was a locked maintenance tunnel, he'd find a way inside. If there was a rumor, he'd chase it. He posted that he'd get proof. That Friday night, he went out with 2 friends toward the old athletic storage building near the river, where multiple students had reported seeing red eyes on the roofline. His friends said Tyler saw it first. He ran toward it. They claimed it leapt, not flew, leapt from the roof to the adjacent lighting tower. And Tyler ran into the street without looking. The truck never had a chance to stop. Campus police called it a tragic accident. Wrong place, wrong time. But his live stream ended with something I can't forget. For half a second, just before the camera tumbled, the frame caught a silhouette above the streetlight. Wings extended, eyes glowing. Watching, not attacking. Watching. After Tyler died, the sightings didn't stop. They multiplied, and that's when I started keeping track. I didn't tell anyone. I just opened a blank map of the campus and began placing red dots. Whitmore Hall, the river storage building, the engineering parking structure, the bell tower. Every location someone claimed to see it. At first it looked random. Then I zoomed out and realized something I wish I hadn't. Every red dot sat directly along the old floodplain boundary line. The town council had debated expanding into 4 new housing. I stared at that map for a long time, because the new dorm complex under construction, it was inside that boundary. I told myself that was coincidence. It had to be. But 3 nights later, someone else died, and the red eyes were seen again. Closer to the river, closer to the dam. And that's when I started wondering, what if it wasn't T here to hurt us? What if it was here to show us something, and we were too arrogant to understand? I told myself I was being rational. That's what I kept repeating while I zoomed in and out of that map at 2 in the morning, watching the red dots form a crooked spine down the eastern side of campus. Rational. Because the alternative was admitting I was starting to believe in something that didn't belong in a town like ours. The university sent out a carefully worded email after Tyler's death. Thoughts and prayers. Counseling services. A reminder about pedestrian safety. No mention of red eyes. No mention of the video clip that had already been screen recorded and dissected frame by frame across every student group chat. People slowed it down. adjusted contrast, added ridiculous horror music. Laughed. But no one could explain the shape above the streetlight. Campus security claimed it was visual distortion. Someone said it was a Halloween decoration blown loose. It was October, after all. That explanation felt safe. Seasonal? Contained. Except the sightings didn't feel playful. They felt deliberate. The third death didn't happen right away. It simmered first. More posts, more shaky phone videos of darkness with two faint red points hovering somewhere too high to be comfortable. Someone started calling it Moth Man as a joke. The name stuck. I hated that it stuck. It made it easier to dismiss. I saw it again 4 nights after Tyler died. This time, from my dorm window. I wasn't even looking for it. I was brushing my teeth, staring absently past the glass toward the construction cranes by the new dorm complex. And there it was, balanced on the crane's arm. The metal structure groaned faintly in the wind, but the figure didn't move with it. It stood against the skyline, wings tucked but massive, shoulders angled forward like it was leaning into the campus. The red eyes weren't scanning. They were fixed on the half-finished building below. I dropped my toothbrush. When I looked again, it was gone. The next morning, I added another red dot. The pattern tightened. I printed the map, laid tracing paper over it, marked the locations of recent infrastructure projects, the new dorm, the riverside housing expansion, the underground parking deck, the water treatment upgrades. The red dots hugged the edges of all of it, like a boundary, like a warning line drawn in light. That's when curiosity stopped being harmless. I started going out at night. I told my roommate I was gathering field data for my thesis. That wasn't entirely a lie. My focus was environmental risk assessment, floodplains, soil instability, outdated drainage systems. I knew things about this town. Most students didn't. I knew the river had breached its banks 3 times in the last 100 years. I knew the dam upstream had been labeled aging but stable in the last state inspection. I knew the town council had fast-tracked development permits despite multiple environmental objections. And now I knew something else was watching those same areas. The 4th death happened near the engineering parking structure. Her name was Marissa. She wasn't chasing it. She was trying to trap it. A group of seniors had rigged motion-activated floodlights on the top level after multiple sightings there. They wanted proof, clear footage, no more shadows. Marissa volunteered to monitor from inside her car while the others waited downstairs. At 1:13 a.m., the lights triggered. Security footage showed the entire rooftop flood with white light. And there it was, for exactly 2 seconds, standing near the edge. Wings eyes blazing brighter under the glare. It didn't flinch. It didn't recoil. It turned its head slowly toward the camera, and then the footage glitched. When it came back, the rooftop was empty. Marissa's car began rolling forward. Investigators said she must have panicked and hit the accelerator. But the angle didn't make sense. The car didn't lurch. It drifted, slowly, deliberately, over the unfinished guardrail section where construction fencing had been temporarily removed. She never opened her door. Never tried to brake. Her hands were found locked around the steering wheel, eyes open, no sign of impact trauma before the fall. The autopsy listed blunt force injuries from the crash, but her expression in the photos circulating online wasn't fear. It was shock, like she'd seen something that rewired her brain in an instant. After that, the administration banned rooftop access. They issued statements about dangerous rumor proliferation. Local news picked it up briefly. College hysteria, urban legend gone wrong. But the town started whispering, because it wasn't just students anymore. A delivery driver reported seeing red eyes along the riverbank. A night shift nurse claimed something landed on the hospital roof and watched the emergency entrance for 10 full minutes. An older man who lived near the dam said he heard wings like canvas snapping above his house. He died 2 days later, fell down his basement stairs while checking his sump pump during a mild rainstorm. Freak accident. That phrase became a drumbeat. Freak accident. Freak accident. Freak accidents. Every single person who died had one thing in common. They'd tried to approach it, follow it, expose it, or stand directly beneath where it appeared. I stopped going out alone after that realization, but I didn't stop watching. One night, I drove to the river, overlooked the highest point in town where you could see the dam lights reflecting off the water. I stayed inside my car, engine off, windows up, just observing. It appeared at 12:47 a.m. across the river, on the old steel truss bridge that had been scheduled for structural review next spring. It stood at the center span, wings spread wider than the bridge railing, and for the first time, it looked toward the dam, not the town, not me. The dam. The red glow reflected in the water below, turning the surface into a streaked ribbon of blood. I felt something that I hadn't felt before. Not fear, not awe, recognition. Like when you finally understand a language you've been pretending not to hear. It wasn't hunting. It wasn't stalking. It was marking. Every sighting, every death, every red dot on my map. A perimeter. I drove home shaking. Because when I overlaid the map with FEMA flood projections from worst-case dam failure scenarios, the red dots traced almost perfectly along the predicted impact zone. I wanted to be wrong. I needed to be wrong. But 3 days later, after heavy rain warnings were issued upstream, the Mothman appeared closer to campus than ever before, standing atop the new dorm's skeletal frame, watching. And this time, it wasn't alone. I didn't realize it at first. But when my eyes adjusted, I saw movement below it. Students gathered, phones raised. They weren't running. They weren't afraid. They were cheering. Like it was a spectacle. Like it belonged to them. And as I watched from the shadows across the quad, the creature slowly turned its head. Not toward the students, toward me. And for the first time, I felt certain. It knew I understood. And something was coming. Something bigger than freak accidents. Bigger than rumors. Bigger than a campus urban legend. The rain started that night. And it didn't stop. The rain didn't fall. It settled in. That's the only way I can describe it. Like the sky had made a decision and wasn't interested in negotiating. By the third day, the ground was sponged off and the river had swollen past the lower walking trails. Students still went to class. Professors still lectured. The football team still practiced in the drizzle like nothing historic ever happened in places like this. I walked campus with my hood up and my map folded inside my jacket. I had added 12 more red dots. 12? Not all of them confirmed by video. Some were just whispers. A janitor swore he saw something perched on the library arch. A grad student claimed it was on top of the science wing, staring down at the geology department offices. A pair of freshmen said it stood in the trees behind the art building, wings dripping with rain but not moving. Every location tightened the perimeter. I stopped sleeping much. Every time thunder rolled, I checked the river levels online. Every time my phone buzzed, I expected another death. The fifth one came at 2:06 a.m. on a Tuesday. His name was Daniel Ruiz, civil engineering major, which would have been almost poetic if it wasn't so sick. Daniel had posted earlier that evening about calculating stress loads on the old bridge supports near the dam. He was one of those brilliant, stubborn minds that believed everything could be solved with enough data. Someone replied to his post with a grainy photo. 2 red eyes. On the bridge again, Daniel wrote, "Going to check this out. Probably squatters or some idiot with leadys." His roommate said Daniel grabbed a flashlight and his truck keys. Security footage from a gas station caught him driving toward the dam access road around 1:40 a.m. At 2:06, emergency services got the call. Daniel's truck had gone through a section of guardrail along the dam approach. The strange part? There were no skid marks. No evidence. He swerved. The truck simply veered gradually like Marissa's car and continued forward. When they recovered it from the embankment, the headlights were still on, pointed directly toward the dam spillway. They said hydroplaning. They said slick pavement. They said low visibility, but the rain had eased by then. And the guardrail he broke through, that section had been scheduled for replacement due to corrosion. I added another red dot. My map was starting to look less like coincidence and more like intention. I layered one more thing over it. Elevation. The creature was always seen at height. Trees, rooftops, towers, bridges, high ground overlooking vulnerable infrastructure. It never appeared randomly in the middle of the quad, never outside the student union, never near the stadium, only near structural stress points, the floodplain housing, the new dorm built on reclaimed wetlands, the aging bridge, the parking structure with unfinished reinforcement. I printed satellite images and taped them to my wall. String connecting red dots. If someone had walked into my room, they would have thought I'd lost my mind. Maybe I had, because I started seeing it even when it wasn't there. Every shadow along a roofline made my pulse spike. Every flicker of red brake lights in the distance made my stomach twist. And then came the night that changed everything. The power flickered across campus just after midnight. Not out completely, just enough to make every building hum. I was already awake. I'd been watching radar models showing a surge of water moving downstream faster than expected. Upstream counties were reporting record rainfall. The dam authority released a statement saying levels were within acceptable thresholds. That phrase meant nothing to me anymore. I went to my window. The rain had thinned to a mist, and there, closer than I had ever seen it, was the Moth Man, standing on the streetlight directly outside my dorm. Not 20 feet away. I could see it clearly. The body was lean but powerful, elongated limbs ending in something that wasn't quite talons, wasn't quite hands. The wings weren't feathered. They looked membranous, stretched, thin and veined like something ancient, its head tilted slightly as if listening. And those eyes, they weren't just red, they pulsed faintly, like embers breathing. For the first time, I didn't freeze. I stepped closer to the glass. My breath fogged the window. "You're not killing them," I whispered. "It didn't move. You're showing us." A car drove past, headlights sweeping across it. For a split second, the full shape illuminated. It was larger than I'd thought. At least 7 feet tall, upright. Wings as lead, 12 feet across when extended, and the face, not animal, not human.